when you get two of the best in the world and they fight, you know, it's like you said, it can turn into not a barn burner. You know, it's very technical and safety first, one of those type of fights. The scoring is insane. These guys are giving out 10-8 rounds like fucking. There were 2 rounds in that fight that they gave a 10-8. No, now, when I came up in the fight business, a 10-8 was an ass whooping. You got your ass whooped. You didn't do shit in that round and got beat down if it was a 10-8. They got to stop giving this 10-8 shit's out of control right now.
Israel is a really good fighter, one of the best in the world. So it's not so easy fight, you know. It was a really good fight, tough fight. But yeah, I was happy, you know, happy that I can fight against someone like Israel inside the octagon for 25 minutes. Pleasure for me.
I thought it was brilliant. I thought he come in with a game plan. He was able to set out in stone some of that game plan during the fight. But Jan just was bigger and not scared. I think Jan knew maybe he couldn't knock him out because he is a tough Polish warrior. So he was in his face, sort of, you know, hitting him back with shots. And then I said to I'm living in my uncle's at the moment, and I said, "Oh, I'm not having a bet on this one, uncle." And he was like, "Why?" And I just said, because I know that Jan's a good grappler. He trained with Dean Lister for a while. I fought one of Dean Lister's students, and I just knew he was going to go for the takedown. And because he came in light, I just thought, is that a bad or good thing? And, you know, maybe it turned out to be a bad thing. I don't know.
Inside the octagon, he was, you know, not so fast, like when I watched his fight. But he kicked harder than I think.
Listen, he's the middleweight champ. He doesn't get the light heavyweight title. He doesn't fight Jon Jones. But you know what? You can never hurt somebody for thinking big and trying to become great. You know, he gave it a shot tonight and didn't happen. And, you know, Jan is the man. He is the 205-pound champ, and now he starts taking on all comers in that weight division.
We see this when I take him down in the third round, he cannot stand up. You know, same in the last round. But in the beginning of the fight, he was, you know, tricky. I cannot catch him. He feels distance really good. So I don't know. Maybe if he will be bigger, he will be much slower. So maybe then I can grab him, you know, faster and easier. But so nobody know. Maybe if in the future we're gonna have a rematch and he's gonna be bigger, we will see.
Guys, size matters. Listen, Blachowicz came out a little bit timid. He wasn't throwing his kicks at range. He wasn't stepping in there. He was very respectful of Adesanya. But one thing that Blachowicz found out is he didn't quite have the power, and I'm talking Adesanya. He didn't quite have the power. He wasn't quite the threat. That's when Blachowicz got used to it, which, by the way, guys, this was an interesting experiment, seeing Izzy go up, because when you hold that thought and you look at Jon Jones, who's doing the same thing now, except he is taking the time. He is removed himself to put on that size to fill into the division. It looks between those two schools of thought that Jones might be the one that got it right.
I've been winning world championships, you know, since, you know, he was getting knocked out overseas, you know, fighting for $5,000. You know, I've been doing this for years at the highest level. World championship fight after world championship fight. I am so far ahead when it comes to, I mean, you name it. In every sense of this game, I'm so far ahead of this kid. So the fact that I am even talking about him right now is flattery to a boy that doesn't deserve me to be talking about.
When you see how dominant he is at 185, of course you think, okay, well, maybe he could go up to 205 and take that belt there. The only thing that I would say is against Adesanya doing that is that he isn't the biggest middleweight, even though he towers above people because he's so tall at 6'4", but he's not the heaviest. Right, and if he goes up to light heavy, I think he walks around at like 195 or something like that. It doesn't get much heavier than 195. Like look at Blachowicz and Reyes, they're going to be 235, something like that, 240. And Jones is probably 245, 250.
I think a bit of it was element of surprise, right? We haven't seen Blachowicz do a whole bunch of this. By the way, don't forget, Adesanya just fought Yoel Romero, arguably the best wrestler in all of mixed martial arts. In 25 minutes, Romero only got him down one time. I think that Adesanya probably had a pretty good confidence in defending that. Maybe a good confidence that in a worst-case scenario, he could get back up. But overall, I don't think he thought that Blachowicz was going to go for that. Blachowicz set it up. He waited till 15 minutes in before he changed elevation and blasted him. Don't forget, Blachowicz went for 2 takedowns. He got them both. It was 100%. If Blachowicz could do it again, he probably would have started in round 1.
You know, he got outplayed. Like Jan, at the end of the day, those 2 takedowns at the end were what made the difference. Jan comes from a great team, like an underrated team, a team that flies under the radar, but I knew how good they were. I knew that they were able to come up with good game plans and good strategies. And look, to the winner goes all the spoils of war. So Jan gets to, you know, this is his night. He gets to celebrate. It's his title. We have to eat some humble pie, you know, head down and go back and reassess back to New Zealand and do what we do best, which is come back from losses. That's something we're really good at.
I've got a lot of respect for Israel. I think he's a great fighter. You know what? This is no disrespect to him. I think he's probably an easier fight for me than Rob, because we both had that. We'd probably have a great striking battle. Rob's a bit different because he mixes it up. I know Israel. Israel's the champion. He's a great MMA fighter, but he's a pure striker. I think we'd have a great fight.
And I want that fight for legacy. You know, I've spoke about Anfield, my hometown, the Liverpool Football Club, and that's a legacy fight for me. You know, I've said this before here on these tables. Forget the belt. Obviously, if me and him fight, the belt's up. But it's the fight with me and him that I know it's gonna be. It will, honestly, I swear to God, like, I get goosebumps thinking about it.
The first 3 rounds were a little closer than I expected, but I felt Israel edged the first 3. I just heard that Jan got 10-8s in the last 2, which was probably the difference, but I'm not sure. I need to look at the scorecards, but
that was really good, you know. That's amazing because, you know, I defend my belt first time like a father, you know. So like a father, I've got 1-0. You know, I beat one of the greatest fighter in the world. I take him his O. Now he got 21, and it just tastes great, you know. Anyway, it was a good fight, tough fight. You know, close fight, but I defend and I'm proud.
I love what he said about dare to be great. I love that he didn't hide his face one bit. I love that he just went 25 minutes with Jan Blachowicz. To put that in perspective, that is 23 more minutes than Dominic Reyes went with Jan Blachowicz, and it is 4 rounds longer than former world champion Luke Rockhold went with Jan Blachowicz. I mean, in many ways, Adesanya showed something, including what his vulnerability is.